One suspect dead and 3 in custody after a shooting in Dallas leaves 5 police officers dead. What's the best way forward in Libya? And a roundup of the continent's hottest music videos. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Now we begin in Texas. At least one sniper killed 5 Dallas police officers and wounded another 7 after a peaceful demonstration to protest the slaying elsewhere of 2 black men by white police officers erupted into chaos. Now the Dallas police chief said early Friday 3 suspects are in custody and the 4th is dead. VOA's Jeff Custer reports from Washington.
Police had been negotiating with the 4th gunman who exchanged gunfire with police in a standoff at a downtown garage. It is not clear if the gunman shot himself or was killed by police. Police Chief David Brown said one of the detained suspects is a female. He said the other 2 suspects being interviewed were seen with camouflage bags, prompting officers to follow their car. Brown said the suspects had not given any indication about why they launched their attack on the officers. Speaking to reporters early Friday, Dallas Mayor Mike Rawlings called it a heartbreaking morning.
To say that our police officers put their life on the line every day is no hyperbole, ladies and gentlemen. It's a reality.
Officials say the attackers had intended widespread damage, and a suspicious package had been secured by the city's bomb squad. Dallas television captured Dallas police officers saluting the bodies of the slain officers as they were delivered to the medical examiner's office. Speaking from the NATO summit in Warsaw, Poland, U.S. President Barack Obama condemned the attacks, saying they are a wrenching reminder of the sacrifices police officers make for the public's safety every day.
I'd ask all Americans to say a prayer for these officers and their families. Keep them in your thoughts. And as a nation, let's remember to express our profound gratitude to our men and women in blue, not just today, but every day.
Police say 2 snipers opened fire on police during the demonstration that was being held late Thursday to protest the police killings of 2 black men earlier this week in separate incidents, one in Minnesota, the other in Louisiana. The 2 killings of the black men are the latest incidents in a string of shootings in the United States of what is widely viewed as examples of the excessive use of force in police dealings with minorities. Jeff Custer, VOA News, Washington.
Well, joining us via phone for more on the Texas shootings is Charles Chamorro, a resident of Dallas, Texas. Charles, welcome to Africa 54.
Oh, thank you, Vincent.
Now, describe for us a little bit how the mood has been in Dallas, given that this was a very peaceful demonstration, and then things just turned the way they did.
Well, it's really shocking, Vincent, because, in Dallas, it's really quiet down here. We don't have incidents like that, and it comes in a little bit shocking, especially, normally when you have an issue going on, the first person you call is the cops. So it is happening. It's really shocking. And, with everything that is going on in the country, it sounds like it leaves you a little bit, confused with all this, what's going on. But it's shocking here in Dallas, so
yeah.
we
Now,
just never expected anything like that.
Now, when such things happen, sometimes people fear that there could be a little heightened tension between the police officers and civilians. What are you hearing?
Oh, well, there's America. A lot is going on, cops shooting, people and for one reason or the other. But here in Dallas, I could say people are pretty much united, quiet and united. Nobody's saying anything negative, and being the fact that, even in that shooting, somebody else got injured apart from a cop, pretty much everybody's in shock. Cause probably would have been me or somebody else in that protest, and, they get hurt. So it's a little bit scary, but we're hanging in there.
Now, very quickly, from what you're hearing, only one guy seems to have been involved in the shooting, right? The one who's killed.
Well, we have a few reports saying there were several because there was different points of shooting. Reports are coming in. Pretty much all I can tell you is yesterday they did one guy surrendered, turned himself in, and then there's another one that got shot. For the first one, they were saying there was about 3. So we're still waiting on the full report on what it's going to be.
Well, Charles, thank you very much.
No problem, Vincent.
That's Charles Chamorro speaking to us from Dallas in Texas. Now, after arriving in Warsaw early Friday morning for a NATO summit in what is expected to be his final presidential trip to the continent, U.S. President Barack Obama said he expects an eventful breakup between Britain and the European Union.
Based on my recent discussions with Prime Minister Cameron, Chancellor Merkel, and now here today, I am absolutely confident that the UK and the European Union will work together in a pragmatic and cooperative fashion to ensure that the UK's transition is orderly and smooth.
While Obama said the British vote to leave the EU raises serious questions about the future for integration within the European continent, he added that the United States remains a staunch champion of European integration. Obama has joined the leaders of other NATO members for the 2-day summit in Warsaw before heading to Spain. That's his first presidential trip to the country. Obama met Friday with European Council President Donald Tusk and European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker, while White House officials said the trio discussed Obama's suggestions for how to move forward with the Brexit negotiations. Brexit discussions likely will take up a large portion of the summit. But Obama also mentioned recent Islamic State terrorist attacks and Russian aggression in Ukraine as major threats to Europe's future. Now, forces aligned with Libya's new unity government have continued to advance closer to an Islamic State group stronghold in the northern part of the country. The militias, mainly from the western town of Misrata, have been leading an offensive since early May to take full control over Sirte. At first, the militiamen rapidly advanced into the city, but their push got bogged down in recent days amid a series of suicide bombings by IS. IS fighters reportedly have anchored down at the militant group's headquarters in Sirte, the sprawling Ouagadougou Convention Center that was built by late dictator Muammar Gaddafi. Now, for some perspective on the situation in Libya, I'm joined by Jason Pack, the president of Libya Analysis. Jason, welcome to Africa 54.
Pleasure to be here.
Now, one thing that sometimes, gets lost in people's minds is that the war or the fighting in Libya is not a very clear-cut fight between one group and another. Can you help us just sort this out?
Sure. We have a kind of civil war in Libya, which is a multipolar civil war. And maybe your viewers are more familiar with what's going on in Syria. It's not as if in Syria the Assad regime fights the rebels. Obviously, the rebels are divided into the Islamic State and the Free Syrian Army and Jabhat al-Nusra. I would even say the situation in Libya is more complicated because there's no one government fighting against rebels, right? When the Gaddafi regime was overthrown, it was overthrown by not one uprising, but uprisings. There were civil society activists, but there were also Islamists. There were people from Misrata, but there were people from Benghazi. So imagine all of these uprisings struggling in the wake of Gaddafi's ouster to govern the country. Each one really only controls its own local area. So now to set the stage for what's going on now, you have in the east the House of Representatives, which is supporting General Haftar. And General Haftar was trained in some ways in the USA and has certain links to the CIA, but yet he's now an anti-American, and he gets his support from Russia and Egypt. And he's on the kind of anti-Islamist side. In the West, you have the UN-backed General National Accord, or GNA government, and those are the ones who have this advance against the Islamic State, which we heard are mostly Misratan fighters.
Yeah.
And breaking off from them are some Islamist groups who are not doing what they're supposed to in attacking the Islamic State, but they're trying to attack General Haftar. So you have at least 3 or 4 groups in this civil war.
In this theater, it looks like an impossible task to try and bring peace in that country. What is the best way forward?
Well, the best way forward would be to have a coalition against the common enemy. And you can think that there's that old saying, me and my brother against my cousin, but me and my cousin against the outsider. And I think the outsider here is ISIS. ISIS, although there are Libyans who are attached to it, it has foreign fighters. And Libyans have tended to react very negatively to Tunisian and Syrian fighters on their territory. I would hope that with better negotiations, maybe some Western facilitation, but not Western troops on the ground, we could get these different groups to work together against ISIS, and that's my strategy.
How much support is the unity government receiving from the other factions?
Not much. The unity government gets its support from the West and the UN, and it's based mostly in Western factions and these misrotten fighters. Sadly, it's made some political mistakes, which are so complex we can't get into them, but this has led to the fracturing of some of the hardline Islamist militias who would rather fight Haftar than fight the Islamic State. I would like to see incentives, you know.
Like
hey,
from the West?
Oh, yes, from the West, but also from guys on the ground. If you work together, you can get a piece of this pie. You can get money. You can get your own country back. Instead of penalties, what if we could give incentives and some penalties to get these factions to work together? Sadly, in the international arena, the Russians, the Egyptians, and the Emiratis seem to be giving incentives for not working together. They help Haftar to not work with the General National Accord government, and that's very destructive. And that's the analogy with Syria. We've never found a way, from when Clinton was Secretary of State to when Kerry was Secretary of State, to incentivize Russia to get their proxy to work together with other forces.
Wow. Jason, you know, we have to call you back. This has to be a continuous conversation. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it'll be great to have you back here. Now, Jason Pack is the president of Libya Analysis. Not too far from Libya, Tunisia's 2011 revolution dramatically transformed the lives of many of its citizens for better and worse. VOA's Lisa Bryant talked to some of them about changes they have experienced.
Tunisia's 2011 revolution dramatically transformed the lives of many of its citizens for better and worse. General Secretary of the Utica Employers Union, Widad Bouchamawi, one of 4 Tunisians awarded last year's Nobel Peace Prize on behalf of their civil society groups.
We need to succeed this transition, this fragile political transition, because people, when they were on the street on December 2010 and January 2011, they shouted on one voice. They said, we want dignity, democracy, and jobs.
Faraz Said was on the street during the uprising. Today, he's bringing about change peacefully, writing plays and volunteering at a local radio station in Zarzis.
C'est pour changer les idées des jeunes et donner l'esprit positif.
I want to change young people's ideas and give them a positive outlook. If we don't have theater, music, or culture, we can't live. We remain enclosed, and we stop thinking.
Donc on reste enfermé.
Saïda Ounisi grew up as a political refugee in France. She returned to Tunisia shortly after the revolution. Today, she's a rising star in the moderate Islamist El Nahda party.
We consider that we have suffered as a country of this lack of pluralism and diversity in the political scene. So that is very important. So now we know that we need to experience something else, which is, like doing coalition partnerships, etc. I'm full of hope, actually.
Lisa Bryant for VOA News, Tunis.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered during the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vincent Makori. Coming up, how did this Ghanaian actor get his start? My talk with Chris Atto is coming up. Stay with us.
From science and technology, here's what's new.
Juno, welcome to Jupiter.
Sounds of celebration in the NASA Mission Control Room as the billion-dollar Juno spacecraft slips into orbit around Jupiter. Juno traveled 1.7 billion miles to get to the biggest planet in our solar system. NASA's Scott Bolton says Jupiter is the biggest, baddest planet there is.
Its environment, everything about it is extreme. It's a planet on steroids, right? It is the most extreme in every way it can be. So it has the strongest magnetic field, the strongest gravity field. It has the most harsh radiation. It's spinning super fast. I mean, everything about it is this extreme environment.
Scientists say Jupiter likely formed first shortly after the Sun, and they say unlocking its history may hold clues to understanding how Earth and the rest of the solar system developed. For VOA's What's New, I'm Todd Grossans.
Welcome back. Now, turning to the world of entertainment, Chris Atto is a Ghanaian actor, film producer, and television presenter. I recently sat down with him for a conversation and first asked him why he wanted to be an actor.
First of all, let me just quickly say thanks for having me on the show, Vince. This is a dream come true because we listen to your voice and get to watch you on TV all the time, and you're doing amazing work. I think that it was a significant moment in my life when I was much younger, and I decided I want to, one way or the other, be able to direct. And I decided if I'm going to direct, let's find out what it's like to be in the actor's shoes. And I think that's literally how the journey began. Today, I believe I've come full circle. I've just recently directed something, so I'm looking forward to the transition fully happening.
People get curious about the challenges an African producer has to deal with. What are some of those that you personally have had to encounter, and how did you overcome them?
Africa is currently rich with so many stories, amazing stories. And I think that one of the biggest challenges is telling the stories right. But I'm happy to say that today we have a lot of trained filmmakers, myself included, that are now beginning to tell African stories the way they should be told, in a way that the world can look at these stories and say, oh, I can relate to that. Oh, I get that, So the industry is definitely going to a good place.
And as an actor yourself, what are some of the films you've acted in that you feel like you're really so proud of when you look back?
Well, I've recently shot something right here in Virginia. It's a series called The Rangers, and this is by producer Ron Newcomb. I think that the experience alone, I count myself privileged because here I was doing what we all do. It's just you're doing it closer to where everyone, wants to get to. I recently shot something in South Africa. It's an adaptation of a book by Cynthia Jaley. It's called Happiness is a Four-Letter Word. And that's something I'm very, very proud of. I've recently become a father, and I think that one way or the other, that's also helped me pick, the kind of scripts that I want to do and the kind of messages that I want to send out there.
So that has really changed you.
Indeed, tremendously.
Father, your wife is a woman you knew while working.
Yes, I was on set with my wife for many years, and I think that if you had said to me before that, you're probably going to get married within the industry, I'd have said no, I don't think so, but it's come to be a blessing.
Well, Chris Atto, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, the continent's hottest top 5 music videos. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Now, Chinese tech firm Alibaba's internet-connected car will set the Chinese e-commerce giant up to quickly introduce driverless vehicle technology. Alibaba and the country's largest automaker, SAIC Motor Corp, demonstrated their jointly developed car equipped with a UNOS operating system, which can link up with smartphones. Among major tech companies, Alibaba is relatively late to offer a platform that can link a smartphone to a car, trailing platforms already launched by Alphabet's Google, Apple, and Baidu. But the race to commercialize driverless cars is far from over, with experts predicting that a fully autonomous car will not hit the market until 2020 or even later. Now, from self-driving to self-sailing. Since the summer of 2013, the 68 members of the sailboat team at the University of British Columbia have designed and built a self-driving robot boat to push the boundaries of autonomous navigation. A successful voyage would be groundbreaking. When the boat sets sail, it will undertake the 2,900-kilometer journey from Newfoundland on the east coast of Canada to Ireland, and is designed to maneuver obstacles and react to various dangers of the seas. Now, the team is confident that the sailboat is capable of crossing the Atlantic Ocean without any human interaction. Well, and finally, Somai dogs are some of the fairest pets around. For years, the Ewing family have simply thrown out the mounds of fur they collect from their pets. While in the past they have unintentionally worn the fur on their clothes, it's now set to become a fixture of their winter wardrobe. Marion Whitland has been spinning yarn for 25 years, but recently discovered a niche market and has set up a business spinning pet yarn. She takes a handful of fur and spins it into a yarn that looks and feels remarkably like wool. She says the best part is giving pet owners a lifetime memento of their furry friends. And that is what is trending today. Welcome back. It's Music Makers Friday, and now let's turn to Sanusi Diallo and a special musical guest, Myra Maimon, for a sampling of the top 5 African music videos of this week.
Welcome to VOA's African Hit. I'm Sanusi Diallo, your host. Today we are joined by an Afro soul singer from Cameroon. You probably heard of On Va Danser, I No Go Tired. Ladies and gentlemen, Myra Maimon. Thanks for joining VOA's African Hit. It is an honor to have you here.
My pleasure.
Right. So tell us a little bit how it was like growing up in Cameroon as a singer.
It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. A lot of playing around outside with the kids. And we would form our own orchestra with teens, create drums and music just from nothing and just dance. I remember all of that still, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, as you know, you're live here on VOA's African Hit. We present the top 5 music from Africa. So I'm going to give you the honor today to introduce our number 5 music video, if you're ready.
Okay. On number 5, we have Kiss Daniel from Nigeria, and the song we have today from him is Mama.
Oh, you talk to me, oh, Mama. Free, oh.
You start music at a very young age, if I understand.
Yes, I did. I did. I started singing really early from nursery school.
Oh, wow.
And then a lot primary school. When I went to secondary school, I continued.
What was you singing at that time? I'm curious. What was you singing at probably 5, 6 years old? Here's a French rapper of Guinean descent, Black M, in À l'Ouest featuring MHD. Let's go.
La vie c'est bizarre, à la fin on va te demander qu'est-ce que t'as fait. Je viens d'un endroit où on ne connaît pas les dollars. J'ai vu qu'ils ont peur de moi comme si j'étais Ebola. Je tape des pas comme si l'ennemi m'avait boumara. Ne m'en voulez pas parce que je suis à l'ouest. Afrique de l'Ouest. Je suis à l'ouest.
So Maro, tell us a little bit about your journey. How's a typical day looks like for you when you wake up in the morning? Wow,
typical day. Mother in the house, work, and yeah.
Busy day.
Very busy. Every day is busy.
Wow. All right, so we're going to go on to number 3 of the week.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
You ready to introduce?
Fun.
All right.
Let's try it. Number 3, we have C for Pedro from Angola.
Let's go and introduce our number 2 music video of the week. Here's the Rolls-Royce musician from Tanzania. Here's a Platinum. It is time to introduce the number 1 music video.
At number 1.
Oh my, I can't believe we're home. I can smell the ocean breeze through my window panes. Green, red, yellow flag floating in the wind. Delighted by the flavors in the air. Tonight is the night we go paint the city red. Calling all my boys and girls, it's the party of the year. We'll let trouble go, celebrate with everyone. Put your hands up in the air with me and shake it till you drop. Oh, hey, yo, on va danser. Oh, hey, yo, on va swinguer. Oh, hey, yo, toujours en ambiance. Oh, hey, yo, on va bouger. À gauche, à droite, put your hands up in the air. À gauche, à droite, put your hands up in the air. Oh my God, so much love to share. Surrounded by my friends and all my family. Laughter in the air.
Well, thank you, Sanusi. And that's our show for today. Now, be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com for more news. Tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC. And in the mornings today, Break Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC. That's Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us here in Washington, have a good night.
Welcome to the Voice of America's Newswords, where we teach you about words in the news. Here is a word that has to do with ships, the sea, and often the military.
Maritime.
The U.S. Defense Secretary will travel from Hawaii to Japan, which has its own maritime dispute with Beijing.
The word maritime has a connection to the seas or oceans. In our story, the maritime dispute is about the argument between Japan and China over control of the Senkaku Islands in the East China Sea.
You will also hear maritime used in business stories about shipping and transportation on the water.
Now, when you hear the word maritime,
Your American English will be good enough to know what this news word means.